Mehta sir, Director NEGRIMS, Organizer Dr. Nita Mahasekar Madam, Director NEIAH, Guest Speaker Dr. Lily Papia Madam, Physician, Yoga and Naturopathy, Civil Hospital, Shillong, and Swami Hita Kamananda Ji, Secretary, Ramakrishna Mission, Shillong, principals of both the colleges of NEIAH, faculty members, all the staff and students present here. Today, we all gather here to celebrate Yogotsav, countdown program for International Yoga Day, and 78 days to go for International Yoga Day. Now I request all the dignitaries to come over the dais, and I would like to request the Pramod Singh sir to accompany them. Now I request Dr. Bijay Kumar sir to felicitate chief guest Professor Dr. Nalin Mehta sir, Director NEGRIMS, with bouquet, shawl and memento. I request Dr. Gaurav Soni sir to felicitate organizer of today's program, Dr. Nita Mahasekar Madam, Director NEIAH, with bouquet, shawl and memento. I request Dr. Alok Kumar sir to felicitate guest speaker Dr. Lily Papia Madam, Physician, Yoga and Naturopathy, Civil Hospital, Shillong, with bouquet, shawl and memento. I request Dr. Bilas Pegu sir to felicitate guest speaker Swami Hita Kamananda Ji, Secretary Ramakrishna Mission Shillong, with bouquet, shawl and memento. Now I would like to request all the dignitaries for lightening of lamp, and I request Dr. Bedika and team for reciting Dhanantari Vandana.
Nivedita. Namaskar to all dignitaries on the dais, all the faculties present here, dear students. I think I have not missed anyone here. So here today we have all the dignitaries, the speakers, who would let us enlighten on this day where we are into Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. That it is a pre-preparation what we are doing for Yoga Day, that is on 21st June 2022. But it is not a one-day affair, and how you can enlighten yourself with these speakers' speeches on each aspect. I would request now all those who are here today to carry on with this. I welcome you all, sir, Swamiji and Doctor. They are now here. I welcome them all, and I would just let me stop here because we would like we are running short of time, and we would like to hear from sir about his research work and how that can be a spark of thing coming to your mind, and later on you can take it to the next generation. I mean, you are supposed to be taking this, the ancient science of yoga, where we always say chitta vritti nirodha. And now you see people treating the physical body, but the entity inside. Now people from the West, they talk of what is the inner, pancha, manomaya kosh, all those things which we have forgotten. Because we all think that this is all something to be done by the sages. It is not so. It is about everybody's health. Body is so precious. We are into this, that we are going to safeguard our mobiles, jewelry, but irreparable. Whatever comes into your mind has to be reflecting on your body. And this is how you control your sattva rajatama. And how best we can do, only the doctors. And I congratulate here, we all are here to enlighten ourselves. And I'll give the mic to Dr. Nivedita to welcome our today's speakers. Thank you so much, sir, for coming here and enlightening us in the day to come. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, madam. As because of some network issue, we are not able to connect it with the co-organizer, sir. Therefore, I request the chief guest, Professor Dr. Nalin Mehta, sir, Director, NEGRIMS, to deliver his speech.
I'll hold that for the scientific session. Okay. A very good morning to everybody gathered here. Thank you. Swamiji, Dr. Papia, Director NEIAH, esteemed faculty members, and my dear students, ladies and gentlemen. I would consider this actually an honor and a privilege to be here in front of you today, and in the time to come, talk about yoga and my personal research that I've done on yoga. The message I want to convey, especially to the young students here, and this is something I have mentioned often on various forums, that we tend to call all our systems of medicine as alternative systems of medicine, whereas these systems have been in place for more than 5,000 years, some of them. And definitely each one of them is a lot older than the modern system of medicine which I personally follow and am professionally trained in, which is the Western medicine. So I think time has come, especially in the wake of this recent pandemic, that we look beyond modern medicine, because modern medicine is limited in a whole bunch of ways. It is aimed at treating infections, diseases, and deformities, whereas some of our ancient wisdom has very efficiently worked at keeping a body totally free of disease. So if you do not have a disease, you will not require medicine. Healthy living healthy dietary habits, adequate mental, physical, and spiritual well-being will keep your body sound, healthy, and absolutely fit, mentally and physically. Now, in such a body, there is very little chance of any disease or deformity occurring. And this is what has probably been the aim, especially of yoga. Yoga is becoming extremely popular all over the world. It is an absolutely secular way of life. It does not promote or condone any religion or religious beliefs. It is probably one universal way of life which everybody should adopt. With these few words, I will stop now because I will come back to bore you with my session on research on yoga. Thank you all so much for inviting me. I'll take this platform to hopefully inspire some of the youngsters that I see here. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
As our inaugural session is completed, now we are going to start our scientific session. Therefore, I request all the dignitaries to have their seats. Now, I would like to request Swami Hita Kamananda Ji, Secretary Ramakrishna Mission, for Yoga Discourse.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। दुर्जन सज्जन भूयात्, सज्जनो शान्तिमाप्नुयात्, शान्तो मुच्येत बन्धेभ्यो, मुक्तश्च अन्यान् विमोचयेत्। I think most of you know the meaning because this whole arrangement of integrating the traditional medical practices with the so-called modern medical practices has not started very long back. So this verse is very important for that purpose. As you see from my appearance itself, that we are actually practitioners of yoga, which, according to Swami Vivekananda, science of religion. So when Dr. Nolan said that it is irrespective of religion, really, it is a science that you can use in different aspects of life in different ways. It is all practical and nothing theories. Basic purpose of this science was to find out the eternal relationship and raise one's consciousness at the level of universal consciousness from which everything else have come into being. So individual consciousness has to be linked with eternal consciousness from which so-called manifested universe has come into existence. is the basic purpose of yoga. Yoga means connecting, yoking. Right? Now, somehow in a roundabout way, at present yoga has received a very limited connotation of physical well-being. In Bengali we call Nai mamar theke kana mama bhalo. One who has no maternal uncle at all, better than if somebody has an one-eyed uncle, it's better actually. That is the meaning. So people in the name of yoga, following Indian practices, giving it new names, preaching it as something of their own innovation, and all these things. I was surprised to see a doctor's chamber practice the physical exercises or punishment that was given in our olden day schools by crossing this, putting two earlobes and doing push-up backward and forward. They say it increases the effective sharpness of the memory. So the question is, many excellent things have been taught in our society in the form of do's and don'ts. Because it is going for generations, we forgot why it was introduced and how it benefits us. Then under the influence of foreign thoughts and the clash of civilizations, we were almost forgetful about it, but somehow in a roundabout way it is again slowly taking possession of us. Not only that, it is getting acceptance worldwide, as the professor will speak in his, because he has extensively traveled in different parts of the world, and how people are serious about these practices. The root of all disease is lifestyle problem. If that is done properly, other things, and human mechanism doesn't need any medicine at all. As we see in animals, they cure themselves. A cat, if it feels sick, it takes some herbs, does vomiting, clears itself, and again cures itself. Simply by leaking through its own saliva, it cures many of the injuries. We see in cats, dogs, domestic animals, wild animals. Our body helps a self-curing mechanism in itself. Through artificial inputs of undesirable materials for temporal satisfaction, we actually put our system into trouble. To a certain extent, they absorb it. After that, when they simply fail, we are diseased. According to Dr. B.M. Hegde, whom I consider very much an authority in this field, he is a practitioner, he is a teacher, of course. So he says, what we know as traditional cure in our families being delivered to us or transmitted to us through our grandmother, great-grandmothers, etc. With that itself and with a healthy lifestyle, we can get rid of 90% of the diseases. Modern medicine, what we call it, it is needed only for emergency cases and very serious cases. Otherwise, they, in the process of cure, create many damages to the body also, which cannot be cured. Doctors will be taking, I am not a physician. You people are working seriously on it, and I have good trust that you will bring into its real grandeur the traditional sciences. With these words, I just go to why yoga was developed. The quotation that you see here, yoga chitta vritti niradha. When the chitta vritti is not controlled perfectly, what it is doing? The next sutra Patanjali says, Vritti sarupyam itaratraha. Rest of the time it continuously gets modified into vrittis. Suppose you are listening to me, I am talking to you. In between our mind is thinking, deflecting, going into hundreds of topics, dozens of topics, and we do not have full concentration. Mind, unless it is consciously taken care of, the tremendous energy that mind possesses simply get dissipated into hundreds of channels. A yogi, all he does is to stop that wastage and dissemination of energy, first bringing it to a limited number of thoughts, then to one idea or one thought only. So it's a long process. So-called meditation camps for stress relief and other things, for which people pay plenty of fees, go to 5-star hotels and add this tension-freeing camps and other things. These are all mostly deceptive play of earning money. It is not that easy to control the mind. It is the most difficult thing that one does. We do it on a regular basis. Only for people who follow any of the traditions born out of the Vedas, Sanatana Dharma, they give a spiritual angle to it. I should not say religion. Remember, religion and spirituality is not. Religion is believing in a set of dogmas which you cannot question, you have to believe in it. It is so different from dharma that we talk about in India. Dharma ensures both worldly prosperity, peace of mind, peaceful coexistence of all species in this universe, not only human beings. We human beings have a false concept. This universe is created for our benefit only. No, that is not the question. These cats and dogs, worms and snakes, everybody has an equal share in this universe. And they are not created for nothing. Just as while inventing a machine, an inventor doesn't give any extra parts to it. That is, similarly, this whole universe, it is so beautifully adjusted with each other that we are interdependent. Only when any group wants to exert its influence over the rest, using its intelligence, physical power, psychological power, intelligence, or what not, actually they are doing their own harm. So, dharma is this balancing act. According to dharma, prosperity is that not only ensures peace and satisfaction and joyful living for you, but it equally ensures that in the process of acquiring your own satisfaction, joy and happiness, you are not hurting anybody in any way, neither by thought, nor by action, nor by words. That is dharma. That is dharma. So, Sangachadang, Sangbadaddam, Sangvamanangshi Janatam, growing together, sharing peace and joy and prosperity together is dharma. Any action, any theory, any principle that work against it, know for certain, it can exist for some period using its influence, but ultimately it will get destroyed. Until it comes to harmony, nothing can exist peacefully for long. Yoga is actually controlling our actions. It is divided into ashtangas and the very basic yama and niyama. That's ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha, shaucha, santosha, swadhyaya, ishwar pranidhan, and aparigraha. All these things, there are 10 steps. Unless we are strongly founded on this base, actually control of mind becomes very difficult. And when you progress towards that, at different stages, hundreds of hurdles. We understand. Suppose for myself I can say, I am struggling for 46 years in this life. But I find still it too very difficult to even very peacefully meditate for half an hour without any kind of distraction or restlessness of the mind at all. Even after 46 years of struggle, you can imagine how difficult the thing is. People take it so easily and lightly and talk about. The question is, Sariram Adhyam Khalu Dharma Sadhanam. The body is the vehicle using which you have to cross the ocean of life. So the first and foremost task is to take care of the body. Don't pamper the body in a way that it creates more obstacle than creating a convenient, than functioning as a convenient vehicle. So that is why this asana and related things have been specially developed to keep this annamaya korsha, the system that is mainly fueled by food of various kinds. That is the first priority. But that is not all. It needs coordination of the other aspects, as it is called in yoga philosophy. This earliest set is annamaya, then it is a pranamaya, the energy body, then manamaya, then vijnanamaya, then anandamaya korsha. And actually the Paramatman, where the yogi actually lives, even after crossing that Anandamaya korsha, it goes to the supernatural. So my question is, not question, what I want to say is, you are primarily involved in the creating well-being of the physical body. But remember, you should not stop there. In your own way, you should try as much as possible to take care of the other aspects of the life, the pranamaya korsha, which you do through pranayama, which is not only breathing. Breathing is only an action which is the result of prana. Then the mind comes, the monomaya. Western psychology and other things, they only move in the periphery. Doctor will tell you how they move only in the periphery. And not only that, due to their own arrogance, they are not even ready to accept their limitation. That is the most extraordinary thing. We don't go into argument, but we are struggling with mind for 46 years. We know where the shoe pinches and how many related. Unless your life, whole day's engagements are properly coordinated, you cannot have peaceful mind to meditate for even 15-20 minutes. For that, you need to keep control over your own egoistic behavior, undue influence from others, keeping your perfect calmness even in agitating situations, consuming food that doesn't unnecessarily create more acidic content in your body. All these are interrelated things. The successful yoga practitioner has to harmonize so many aspects of body and mind. Then only it starts giving you palpable results. Otherwise, you do get something and remain satisfied or get stuck up there. So, I am extremely happy I have come here not to give a talk because I am not we are more of a practicing yogis than teachers, being teacher. To be a teacher, very high qualification, ability, experience and other fields are necessary which I do not have. So without occupying the dais for a longer time, I shall only request you, just don't keep yourself restricted in the well-being of the body only. For your own peace of mind, for peaceful family life, for properly growing and guiding your children into responsible human beings, you need a calm mind, a controlled mindset. You need to have control over food, control over talk, control over every aspect of life. You may not be a yogi, but as a human being, you will be able to live a most peaceful life, even in the midst of quarrelsome, inordinate, abstinent, disobedient other members of your own family or the society in which you work. So yoga can do wonders, and it has unlimited frontiers to explore. So just not keeping only yourself, your possibilities, your ability restricted within physical well-being, try to move forward and forward. Unless you know that you are one with this existence, anything going wrong anywhere in this world should be perceived by you. That is where we are supposed to be, all of us. And Indian philosophy says, each of us has the potential to reach that possibility, and this human birth is the best opportunity. If we don't progress to the best extent possible in this life, we are misusing the opportunity called human birth. Thank you all.
Thank you, Swami Hita Kamananda ji. Now, I request the guest speaker, Dr. Lily Papia Madam, physician, yoga and naturopathy, Civil Hospital, Shillong, for deliver her lecture on yoga for health and wellness.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great honor to be here in this esteemed college and sharing the dais with the director of NEIAH and director of NEGRIMS, even Swami Vivek, Hatakamanandaji from Secretary Ramakrishna Mission. Talking about yoga for health and wellness, which is the theme of this year Yoga Day celebration. I think yoga doesn't end only on that day, on that yoga day. We should progress or move forward from that day and practicing yoga in day-to-day life. Let's start. So, what is health according to yoga? Yoga is a holistic and integral science of life dealing with physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health of an individual and society. And wellness is a process of achieving the full potential to enhance the higher quality of life, experiences. Okay, yeah, thank you. And wellness is relevant yoga is relevant in the reduction of stress and the risk factor of disease leading to illness, as well to ensure the positive health condition through the multidimensional approach based on sustainable principle and practice. As in this, this pandemic years, yoga has been a very important tools in helping individual to overcome all the stress, the mental stress, and even the physical stress to overcome. These are the 8 limbs of yoga, which Swami Hatakamanandaji also has been talk about. The 8 limbs of yoga, that is yamas, the niyamas, the asana, the pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Yoga, which we all practice, is the asanas, which we concentrate more, but asanas are in the third position. Yamas are known as the codes of restraint, abstinence, and regulations. In English, I must say. And niyamas are called as observance, practices, self-training. Asana are the postures, comfortable body postures. Pranayama are the expansion of breath and prana, or its regulation. Pratyahara is the process of withdrawal of the senses. Dharana is the process of concentration. Dhyana is the practice of meditation, which is an unbroken flow of awareness. Meditation, it can be like you are sitting in any comfortable posture and just let the mind flow in its own. It's very difficult to devoid the mind of any thoughts, but in the normal life, you can practice meditation by just sitting for 20 minutes or 30 minutes and just let the mind flow, and after that, you come back to the normal, to your normal self. Then samadhi is the ultimate state of yoga, which is reached through the meditation. So these are the approaches toward yoga. Yoga exercise needs to be approached gently and non-violently with a proper state of mind. Always more graceful into a position and never strain or pull violently. Use the breath and concentration to allow the body more to become limber. Observe the body and appreciate even a small progress. Always be positive. Next. Use common sense and cautions in your approach and never exceed your limitation. Pull back if a position does not feel right. Listen to your body. This is the very important thing while practicing, or anyone who start practicing yoga. The instructor who teach you yoga, he may ask you to bend forward or bend backward or reaching there or reaching here. But as a newly practitioner, you will not be able to reach that posture. So remember that you have to listen to your body, observe all the body senses, all the strain or the sprain that you are feeling, and then if that posture is not feeling right, just hold there wherever you feel comfortable, and then come back to the starting posture. Concentrate on the rhythm of the breathing to still the mind and prevent distracting thoughts. Okay, next. Progress on yoga comes through systemic daily discipline. Yeah, yoga, you need to be disciplined in yoga, obviously. I think at first everyone will feel that in the first few minutes of practicing yoga or postures or the yoga classes which you are joining, the first few minutes will be very like, you are fighting with yourself, you are fighting with your inner self, that why I'm here in this class even, that you don't know why, you don't know what it is. And from there, the mind start to calm down, and then you start to listening to yourself, to your own mind and the body. Then you start accepting that okay, this is, we are going to move from one posture to another posture and observing, and then you feel that there is calmness in the mind, there's the slowness of the breathing and all. It should not be a burden, but it takes initial commitment and dedication before it becomes satisfying. Build your own practice by initially selecting a couple of exercises to do daily. Yoga and daily life. Practicing yoga helps to bring discipline in life. Yoga can bring due transformation in the life of these people. It is here to know that one can realize the advantages of yoga only when he or she become consistent. And to be consistent, one has to be disciplined. That means we are not practicing yoga just only for 1 day or 2 days. It becomes a habit. Practicing yoga becomes a habit, and then you will get all the benefits. You have to sleep in time, eat balanced food, and quit various forms of addiction as well. Yoga in this helps a lot as a form of de-addiction. Yoga creates a positive nature of mind as well-beingness. So advantages of yoga, I can just assume collectively the advantages of yoga into physical form and mental fitness. So the physical fitness, yoga takes joints through their full range of motion, which helps joints cartilage receive fresh nutrients, prevents wear and tear, and protect underlying bones. Many postures in yoga require weight bearing, which strengthens bones and helps ward off osteoporosis. Create happiness in mind. Yoga create happiness in mind. Or good health is not just limited within the physical body. Yoga refers to mental health as well. This is what yoga has been very popular in the West also, because yoga helps in the mental being, in the fit mental being. No matter how strong is the body, but she cannot progress if the mind is not at proper state. It helps for better sleep too. Yoga provides the tranquility to mind so that the person feels ever motivated to accept any challenge in life. Yoga is relevant for contemporary people who have to deal with a great amount of stress. It helps the practitioner a greater sense of awareness of life situation. Yoga creates a positive nature. Problem means nothing for a person positive nature. The happy hormones or as advantages of performing yoga. Yoga brings a hormonal balance in the body. It helps activating the dopamine, the oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphin. The dopamine which give satisfaction to the body, to the mind. And serotonin is a contentment hormone or love hormone. The oxytocin, that is the mood stabilizer, and endorphin, the painkiller. Okay, increased blood flow. Yoga gets the blood flowing. Relaxation helps circulation. Movement brings more oxygen to yourself. Twisting brings fresh oxygenated blood to organs, and inversion reverse blood flow from the lower body to the brain and heart. As yoga postures are involved in standing postures, there are the lying down postures, the sitting down postures. So while practicing, you can practice from standing, then come sitting, then come supine lying and prone lying. But don't try to move from lying down to standing, again lying down, again sitting down, which make the head busy. So we goes in a systematic way. Lower blood sugar level, which is again related with the hormones. Yoga lower blood sugars and LDL cholesterol and boosts HDL cholesterol, which is a good cholesterol. In people with diabetes, yoga has been found to lower blood sugar by lowering cortisol and adrenaline levels, encouraging weight loss and improving sensitivity to the effects of insulin. Yoga helps to cleanse the lymph and improve the immune system. Yoga movement aid in draining the lymph, allowing the system to better fight infection, destroy the disease cells, and rid toxin waste in the body. Furthermore, meditation appears to have a beneficial effects on the functioning of immune system, boosting it when needed, that is raising the antibody level in response to vaccine, and lowering it when needed, like in autoimmune disease, example like psoriasis. Next. Okay. Yoga encourages a self-care and healthy lifestyle. One of the greatest benefits of yoga is its ability to inspire and improve self-care and healthy living. As yogis tend to be more involved in their own health and care, they discover that they have power to effect positive changes in their lives and tend to adopt more healthy habits. I think this is just an example of why should you do yoga. Over time, a healthy living has a large impact on life expectancy. I feel yoga has been like most of the elderly people are practicing, which is, I can say that people should wake up from this slumber that yoga is only for the elderly. Even the young age people, they can get benefit from practicing yoga. Yoga, as it increases the life expectancy, we should start from the early age of, we can start from the early age like a child from 7 years of age or to a 70 years of age. Anyone can practice yoga. These are just a different style of yoga, as people may be confused, as they have seen in many TVs or YouTubes, different people are practicing different style of yoga. So these are the styles of yoga. Ashtanga yoga or and Vinyasa yoga are the same, which are where yoga postures are practicing in a flow or in a series. Hatha yoga, which are mostly practiced in Bihar School of Yoga, where they include breathing exercise with the postures. Iyengar yoga, which is founded by BKS Iyengar. Here they focus on alignment as well as detailed and precise movement, and they relies on props to help promote the posture to go into a deeper and safe manner. There is Bikram yoga or hot yoga, which you can mostly very famous in the Western area. Here the postures are performed, or the yoga posture are performed in a room, which is 105 degrees centigrade and a 40-degree humidity, 40% humidity, There is yin yoga. This is also a slow-paced yoga. It is mostly performed in a seated posture, and the postures are held for 45 seconds to 2 minutes, and they focus on the lower parts of the body. That's why that are seated posture. There is Kundalini yoga. This style is about releasing the Kundalini energy or the awakening of the chakras. It involves your core and breathing with fast-moving invocative posture. and breath exercise. There is restorative yoga. This style focuses on body relaxation. There are only a few postures in an hour or in that length of practicing, but few of the posture helps in easier. They are easier and are more relaxing. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Now I request Chief Guest Professor Dr. Nalin Mehta Sir, Director NEGRIMS, for deliver his lecture on Yoga for Health and Wellness.
A very good afternoon, everybody. And I think it's a lot better to be here than behind that podium. I'm going to have a serious issue with my presentation because there are a lot of animations, and if it is going to be controlled from there, he will have to keep on, So I was just wondering, do we have some sort of a remote wherein the slide progression can be controlled? No. Pardon me? All right. Yeah, please go ahead. So we all know what yoga is. So you can quickly go through this slide because everybody has spoken about yoga, how it is important for well-being, for physical, mental, and spiritual health of an individual. Swamiji has spoken very eloquently about all the benefits, and so has Dr. Papia. So I'm not going to repeat or reinvent the wheel. But a couple of important things that have come out of this are that yoga should ideally be started in school age. 3-4-year-old children, that becomes a lifestyle. And if that is done, you have a lot more healthy mental, physical, spiritual well-being, that kind of health which keeps diseases away. And please go further. We can ignore this slide. All I want to say is that if we go back to the previous one, if you see Uncle Sam doing yoga, yoga is almost 5,000 years old, a little over. And then Indian monks, they spread it around the world in the 1850s when travel was a lot easier and ships and all were in vogue. Swami Vivekananda himself has traveled to the West and spoken about yoga, and his speech in the UN has been legendary. And I am very impressed by one of his statements which is extremely profound. He says, intelligence lies not in the accumulation of knowledge, but to the degree of its application. We can all mug up books, but if you can't apply that information to do something worthwhile, then there is no intelligence. So knowledge and intelligence are two very different things. There are people who are knowledgeable, who can recite 1,000 verses. Then there are people who are intelligent, who can use that knowledge to do something worthwhile, something which is beneficial to humanity. So yoga went around the world, and after that it became extremely popular. And then it came back to India. We realized the importance of yoga a couple of decades before, and now it is extremely popular. You have yoga studios. It's become a commercial, activity. People are charging for yoga, and like Swamiji said, there is only one yoga. The multiple facets that you see, everybody has started different kind of yogas, are their own proponents. Iyengar yoga, he hasn't discovered anything which can be called yoga. Has been in existence, but variations they exist everywhere. So it all started in the US, and if I can get wonderful. Now let me just try and figure out which takes it to the next slide. I have been given a very complicated remote. Yeah. Is this... How do I take to the next slide? वो नहीं है ना? I guessed. Okay, this is interesting. Whenever you are dependent on technology, some glitch, Murphy's law says if something must go wrong, it will go wrong. So this is what is probably happening. But please, okay, fine. So now I said like yoga is gaining. Go on. This is something I've said. It was in India. It went around the world. It has come back. Please go down to the bottom of this slide till we can get hold of a remote. Next one, please. Next. Yeah. So what we did, when we realized that yoga is extremely beneficial and a holistic approach is required to create that health benefit for the patients. And history has it that yoga has been extremely beneficial. In the 1950s, in the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, to which I belong, and I'm here on deputation, a few of our scientists in the Department of Physiology, one a neurologist and a physician together, they worked on one yogi who had come in from the Himalayas. And they realized that even in the winters, he was clad in a langot and one shawl and was neither shivering nor was he in discomfort. So they measured all his body parameters and realized that it was very, very normal, which was unusual. Everybody else was topi and gloves and, you've seen the winters here. The Delhi winters are not very, very different. Maybe 1 odd degree Celsius difference. They went a little further to check his oxygen consumption, the basal metabolic rate, BMR, or the resting metabolic rate, RMR. His oxygen consumption as compared to normal human beings was almost less than 1/5. So we are utilizing 10 liters of oxygen over a period of time. He was utilizing only 2. So that was his efficiency. Almost talking about the mileage. If your car gives you 10 kilometers per liter, his car was giving him almost 50. So that kind of efficiency of oxygen utilization. So when it has been mentioned that yoga has yam, niyam, which are your internal and external disciplines, external being yam and internal is niyam, then asanas and pranayam, you have breathing exercises, you have physical activity, then you have, power of concentration, and then you go into dharana, dhyana, etc. Now the issue is when you're addressing your entire body, there are a whole bunch of benefits that accrue, and that is what I took on to investigate. So if you can move on to the next slide. At the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, next one please. This was a publication in a newspaper wherein they realized, this I have picked up, this was in a supplement from Lucknow, this is 2005. Taking cue from the yogis on TV channels, they decided to expose school students to yoga and realized that they did very well in their exams as compared to those students who were not doing yoga. So that means it helped in their memory, it helped in their concentration, but this is just a newspaper report. And the newspaper will report anything. Though this was true, have you heard of that man who started his vehicle on water? Somebody instead of petrol could use water. It was in the newspaper. And after a few days it came out that it was fake. And a host of other things start coming out. So a lot of people, this came out in the newspaper but didn't believe in it. Next slide, please. There was another one where academic performance among middle school students. Now this was done in the US and they addressed 4 parameters. GPA is your journal performance. Everybody who's gone to school now knows your CPA and GPA. They also spoke about the work habits, cooperation and attendance. So people who were doing regular exercise versus people who were doing yoga, the performance of those who were exposed to yoga was much better over a 2-year period. Their marks improved, their attendance improved, their work ethics and cooperation amongst themselves, that means there was calmness and efficient work culture. Next slide, please. So closer to home, yes. Research has revealed that scoring skills could be increased as high as 50% Scoring skills would improve as high as 50% if you have been practicing yoga. And this research carried out in Delhi among over 1,000 students, it was 1,130 students between the ages of 9 and 14, and it showed that doing yoga increased their ability to concentrate, retain, and recall information, which helped tremendously during examination. And the variation was from 25 to 59%. From 24%, they improved up to 59%. And it was only a 5% increase in those people who were doing exercises, but not yoga-based exercises. So it just implies that yoga has a lot of effect, not just on your physical, but also on your mental being. Next slide, please. And this was a study which was done in the Adhyatmik Kendra, and this was funded by CCRY and the Central Council for Yoga and Research and Naturopathy. Now, I did a Google search on PubMed. PubMed is a search engine which gives you proper indexed articles. And I did it in 2 steps. In one step, I just put in the word, say, yoga. And in the second one, I said yoga clinical trials. So if you can read the small print here, yoga had 5,789 hits, and this was on the 1st of August, 2001. That means in 2001, 21 years ago, 5,000 studies on yoga were listed in PubMed. And when you talk of clinical trials, there were 1,400. All the ones that you see in red, diaphragmatic breathing, progressive relaxation, Tai Chi, and autogenic training and hypnosis, they were marginally less than yoga. But when you spoke of meditation, relaxation response, aerobic exercises had 4,32,000 hits. That much of research was done on aerobic exercises. And if you go through some of the literature of the earlier times, you'll realize that a lot of people who described in their materials and methods the aerobic exercises that were performed were actually doing yoga. But because if they published yoga, journals like Lancet, British Journal of Medicine, BJM, New England Journal of Medicine, and a few popular and very, very prestigious journals would not publish yoga. But when you did yoga and wrote aerobic medicines or anaerobic exercise, that would be published. A lot of relaxation techniques were actually yogic meditation, but they were classified as relaxation. Next slide, please. Now, this was today morning. Today morning, I did another search. The number of studies have gone up only by 1,000 in yoga. And clinical trials have gone up considerably. Now there are 1,400. It has beaten a few others, but now progressive relaxation, Tai Chi, and autogenic are the only ones behind. So we have gone ahead of hypnosis, we have gone ahead of cognitive behavior therapy. But if you see, there is a lot of work to be done on yoga. And majority of these publications are from scientists abroad. So now my message to you all here, if we keep singing about the benefits of yoga and telling the world we are the best and yoga is the best, it accounts for nothing at all. Unless you can do some systematic research on yoga or on Ayurveda, any of the Ayush streams, and then publish them in prestigious journals, your information or the advantages of your science will never be known to the world, and what the world does not know, it does not accept. Next slide, please. We have an integral health clinic in the Department of Physiology at AIIMS, New Delhi, which was inaugurated 22 years ago. This was on 3rd of February 2000. That's Professor Maheshwari, a world-renowned neurologist who was the Dean of AIIMS who was inaugurating. Next slide, please. Now, what does yoga offer? It offers a holistic approach to healthy living. So, it integrates healing with healthy diet, traditions, environment. Environment is extremely crucial, and as we had a discussion with Swamiji before we came in here, it is slowly emerging that whatever you have in your genes makes or constitutes a human being, but the environment is extremely important in playing a role towards the evolution that you develop, epigenetics. And there are markers of epigenetics which we don't have to go in now. And a yogic lifestyle Now, a yogic lifestyle, contrary to popular belief, most people feel, and even it was mentioned by Dr. Papia, that people think that this should be done in old age. Because once you are old, then you can probably become a little religious, etc., but that has nothing to do with yoga. It's almost the same kind of misconception that people have that golf is a game for retired people. If some of you start golf today, you will realize that you are already regretting not having started it in school. Yoga does not mean that you give up having fun. You can still pursue your hobbies in life. Yoga is just a lifestyle. It's the way you live, what you eat, what you do, and how you keep your mind and body fit. People are paying lakhs of rupees to go to gyms. If they were doing yoga, they would have been free of disease and extremely healthy and capable of doing tremendous physical and mental feats, which includes excellence in sports and in other fields of cultural and extracurricular events. Next slide, please. So once you do this, I have a very, very famous quote which I can say and claim. Yoga can cure. When you talk of any disease or disorder, yoga can cure. And what it cannot cure, it can help you to endure. For example, cancer doesn't have too many cures. If you had a healthy lifestyle from childhood, you probably wouldn't get cancer. I'll just give you a little brief about what cancer is. Cancer is basically a change in some of the cells of the body. And when those cells start growing out of control, requiring more nourishment than other cells, and the size keeps increasing, vascularity, so it's almost like a parasite. It feeds on the body. And these are cells which do not perform any normal function. So if I have a cancer somewhere in my body, it's from the body, one of the cells that has gone rogue. Now it is not doing its own job, but it's seeking all the energy and becoming big. And eventually you die of cachexia, cancer cachexia. Now how does cancer develop? Anybody? Any idea of how cancer develops? How does that one cell go rogue? That cell goes rogue when it is stimulated by some external environmental factor, the most common of them being ionizing radiation. Every one of us, we have more than 1,000 hits of potential cancer-causing stimulus to our body every day. But it is the human immune system which keeps throwing them off. It wards them off. You get more than 1,000 hits, even as we are sitting here, cancer cell stimuli for turning a normal cell into a cancerous one are hitting us. And this becomes our immune system keeps knocking it off, but the immune system succumbs when your habits go bad. For example, junk food. Talking very specifically about this region, which is famous for or legendary for its turmeric. Having a little turmeric with milk has been an age-old tradition in India. Doodh fitkari and stuff like that. But now if you go to barista, turmeric latte. Have you heard of turmeric latte? And how much do you pay for it? 250, 300 rupees. Whereas it's just a little bit of turmeric in milk, which is probably maybe 15 rupees. So when it goes around from the west and comes and hits us, we feel, wow, it's so fashionable, it's so glamorous, then we like it. Till then we'll do nothing. It's said, in Hindi there is a saying, ghar ki murgi dal barabar. Basically all it means is, chicken at home is like pulses, anything which is your own, you don't value it much. So yoga can cure, and what it cannot cure, it helps endure. Next slide, please. Now at this Integral Health Clinic in AIIMS, we have a mind-body medicine concept. A comprehensive yoga-based lifestyle intervention modification program, which we started in 2000, is being offered to patients and healthy individuals, including our own students and faculty members. It's a 2-week-long course which offers a 30-hour contact, after which you are expected to continue to do this daily, right? Patients are referred from either the OPD or directly they approach because of the flyers in the advertisements. And all the records are maintained. The course fee we started was 2,000 rupees, it is 200 rupees, it has gone up a little now. And that's mainly for stationery and the handouts that we give to the patients. Next slide, please. Elements of the course are an interactive lectures and films, talking to people about the advantages of yoga and what is expected from them. We show them films, we show them documentaries. We also have a lot of literature which we share with them. Asanas and pranayam, which is physical forms and breathing exercises. We also have meditation and shavasana. It is followed by imagery, auto-suggestion, especially for cancer patients and others with chronic ailments, where it's a very positive, motivating factor. We also include humor, chat sessions for a while, group support, and individualized counseling. Patients are counseled about their condition. We do not interfere with their regular treatment, but we tell them, in addition to your regular treatment, as a complementary medicine, as was talked about, if you include yoga, you will benefit. So this was like, told to the patients. A lot of them agreed to come and participate. Next slide, please. So this is the list of breathing exercises, how it was done, what were the loosening exercises, warming up, then the names of the asanas. Now let me tell you, Dr. Papaya was talking about how it lowers blood sugar. There are certain asanas which are meant for patients, and there are certain asanas which a few patients cannot do. For example, certain asanas will not be done by heart patients because it can cause trouble. So we had professional yoga teachers who identified which asanas would be beneficial and which would not be, because it's all given in the text when you read yoga. A few asanas, because of the bending, stretching, and squeezing of the body, help in release of hormones. The mechanisms are there. So better release of insulin helps in control of blood sugar. But this is all hearsay. I'm just saying it and you are listening to it. How do we prove it? Through science. So this was the entire intervention that every patient was made to undergo. Next slide, please. So this was day one. We used to take a very detailed history, their dietary history and general physical examination, monitoring their blood pressure, taking a blood sample. Next slide, please. On day one, we introduced them to the course. We used to give lecture on the introduction to yoga, unstructured activity, and apart from asanas, we used to have them practice shavasana. That is how every day would end. Next one, please. On day two, again, it was all, there was an hour of yogasanas, followed by lecture and practice of meditation, followed by unstructured activity. Unstructured activity means they can either read a book, watch a movie, or even discuss amongst themselves, because that was very helpful. What I gain from my experience, if I discuss with you, you might probably want to adapt it. Especially people with different, for example, when we had a group of people with diabetes, their discussion among themselves was very motivating for each other. Day three, please. Next. We had asanas, lecture on good nutrition, practice of relaxation, unstructured activities, and then individualized counseling. Every patient, their personal problems, heart conditions or diabetes or depression, there was a talk on that and how they were doing treatment, whether the treatment was adequate, did they require more, etc. So the diseases were also being addressed. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. On day 5, again asanas, we had a film on stress management, the role of stress hormones, adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol, and how the stress responses to the body, eustress, which is good stress, distress, which is bad stress, how that affects the body's normal growth and development. Unstructured activity. After that, day 6, we had asanas and lecture about their illness. It is very unfortunate in our country, a lot of patients, if you ask a diabetic, what's your problem? Oh, I have diabetes. What is diabetes? It's a sugar issue. So how do you treat it? I don't take sugar. What do you take? I avoid sugar, but I take pakoras, I take puri. Sugar basically is a lipid issue. So unless you tell the patient the problem and the mechanisms which are causing the disease and how it can be helped, a lot of people are not aware of their own diseases or the mechanism of their disease. So we used to give them information about their disease and then treat them through yoga and meditation. Next slide. Next was yogasana, lecture, yogic attitude toward daily life. This was very important. The yogic attitude was very clear. And there was these 5 basic principles we used to teach them. One is to get rid of the ego. The ego is very damaging. Second is desires. You may have needs. Your need versus your desire. The desire is fueled from greed. That is very different. When your neighbor has bought a car, irrespective of whether you can afford it or not, you want to buy a car, new car. The neighbor has an iPhone 13, so you want to buy a new iPhone. That kind of competitive greed can cause serious harm, especially because people tend to take loans which they are not able to repay. Some people steal. So all kinds of trouble may happen because you are fueling your greed. And then there is equanimity. Whether something good or bad happens, there's nothing you can do about it. So you should be stable and calm and approach any of these situations pragmatically. So these are a few things which you have to change in your daily attitude. Rather than becoming extremely aggressive and competitive, you should work more in alignment with your friends or your colleagues as a group, because your overarching goal is the same. So this is a positive rather than competition, which has a lot of negative input. In fact, in competition, you realize in schools and colleges, there are students who hide books in the library in a different section so that other students cannot benefit from this book. Now that is competitive, negative attitude. So there is nothing more fulfilling than being able to help somebody. That does a lot good. It warms your heart, it improves your circulation, it does a lot of good things. But saying it doesn't matter unless you've done it or proven it through scientific studies. Next slide, please. On next day, we again have asanas, a lecture on stress management, followed by practice, unstructured activity, and individualized advice upon their disease. Next slide. Then again, we wrap up the course and we have an evaluation on day 9. We take blood samples. The blood samples were taken on day 1 and again on day 9, which is the 15th day of the course. This is over 2 weeks. And those blood samples then were analyzed for different patients with different diseases for a lot of parameters, and look what we found. Next slide, please. These were the unstructured activity. Fasting blood glucose or fasting plasma glucose and serum lipids. If you can see, before and after, the initial one is in yellow, the blue one is after 9 days, a total of 98 people. These were blood samples of 98 people. The fasting blood plasma glucose was slightly less. Total cholesterol was reduced. LDL is the bad cholesterol, that was reduced. This all happened in 15 days. The HDL was marginally raised. HDL is the good cholesterol. VLDL, very low density lipoprotein, was slightly reduced, and triglycerides were reduced. Now this does not show tremendous significance, but there was a trend towards reduction. So we told these patients, these are your blood values, and this is what yoga has done, because their medication we did not stop. You were doing your medicine, but your cholesterol was still high. After doing yoga, there had been a decrement. So along with the medicines, yoga is improving you. So if you continue to do this at home, come back after a month. So we used to give them diaries for compliance where they would know what to do. We also gave them videotapes of the asanas, and we gave them the freedom to come back to attend the course to revise in case they had forgotten something. A lot of patients continued to do this and benefited immensely. Some of them had to stop their medication because their blood parameters all came back to normal. And the cardiologists and the endocrinologists were very surprised. So they asked them, what are you doing? We are going to your own department in your own hospital. So the cardiologists started sending us patients. Next slide, please. Oxidative stress. There was a decrease. This was seen on day 1, the values, these are pre-post. If you see the T bars on the left, it's almost nearing 1.6, 9.7. And it was slightly lower, and this, because it was on 100 odd patients, 104 patients, the value was significant. Next slide, please. Autonomic functions were tested. Next slide. The baseline systolic blood pressure showed a mild fall, and diastolic very marginal. And it's the diastolic that basically troubles you in hypertension. Next slide, please. We did the low frequency and high frequency power, and we saw that the low frequency power had reduced and the high frequency power had increased significantly, which was beneficial for the patient's autonomic balance. Autonomic is your sympathetic and parasympathetic, which deals with your stress and day-to-day asserties. Next slide, please. The low frequency sympathetic had a marginal decrease. Sympathetic is your flight-fright response, whereas the parasympathetic is in your relaxed times, and the parasympathetic had an increase. So this encouraged us tremendously. Next slide, please. We also worked on their mental being, state and trait anxiety, as well as well-being scores, and we realized that their total state and trait anxiety inventory showed a decrease after the course. The state showed, in fact, the total state and trait, all the anxieties had a fall. That means yoga and meditation helped them become more and more calm. If you are calm, your blood pressure also falls. So the entire story was now falling into place. Next slide, please. Subjecting well-being, this was based on a questionnaire which the candidates answered. They had a very good score following the course. Next slide, please. Now, after this, I have a series of studies. This was a brief but comprehensive lifestyle education program based on yoga, which reduces risk factors for cardiovascular disease and diabetes mellitus. This was a study which was done on 98 subjects, 67 male and 31 females, aged between 20 and 24. Outcome of the study was that their fasting plasma glucose, total cholesterol, LDL, etc., and their ratios. So the observation suggests that a short lifestyle modification and stress management program leads to favorable metabolic effects in these parameters. This was published. Next slide, please. A short-term yoga course for reducing anxiety, improving subjective well-being, and personality. This also showed a tremendous improvement in the person's scores. Next slide, please. Efficacy of a short-term yoga-based lifestyle intervention in reducing stress and inflammation. This study, the outcome parameters were reduction in stress, plasma cortisol, and beta endorphin levels. So here we went into the mechanism. When we talk of well-being, the scores are fine, but what is happening within the body? We are all aware of endorphins. Endorphins are the hormones that produce happiness or reduce stress, and cortisol is your stress hormone. So their levels were reduced. Next slide, please. Then we worked on overweight and obese individuals. This study was done on 51 people, out of which 30 completed the study. We did their baseline weight, we did their body mass index, their blood pressures, everything. And except for plasma, your endothelin, which was equal at both places within these 15 days, they showed a remarkable change in their parameters towards positivity. We concluded that this course reduced the risk factors for coronary vascular diseases and inflammatory anxiety and other states in obese and overweight people. So there was a ray of hope even for people who were into metabolic syndrome. Next slide, please. Now this was a study, so far we had done studies which were pre and post case control, some with healthy individuals versus patients, some of them were double arm. Then we conducted a randomized control trial. This RCT was done, which was a 12-week yoga-based, which included dietary modification, versus just people who had diet. So yoga plus diet versus people who were only doing dietary modification in metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome, as you all know, is obese, people with diabetes and hypertension, and this becomes a downward spiral. If you are afflicted by metabolic syndrome and if you are not serious about your condition, then the prognosis is pretty bad and pretty quickly. So here the 12-week course was more efficacious than just dietary management in improving all the metabolic risk factors, cardiometabolic risk factors of metabolic syndrome in adults. The blood sugar had reduced, their hormonal profile improved, their obesity, weight, they had a fall in weight, and their cholesterol levels or their lipid profile became a lot healthier. These people continued to do the exercises after our initial intervention and benefited from it, and some of them lost considerable weight and had to get off anti-diabetic agents. Next slide, please. Now, these are a list of other publications we've done. We've done metabolic effects on of the short-term course, relevance of yoga to modern medicine, attenuation of oxidative stress injury by short-term course, effects of the lifestyle program on quality of life, one on the effect of complementary yoga-based lifestyle modification in breath holding time, your ability to improve your respiratory parameters, because we are also doing pranayam. So yoga, pranayam, and meditation. Then there was one which worked on stress and immunity. Next page, please. Then we worked specifically on fasting plasma glucose, blood pressure, and hemogram of overweight and obese people, effect of short-term course on breath holding time of healthy subjects, And a preliminary study we did on the resting energy expenditure and lipid profile. Your metabolism, your resting metabolic rate, how much oxygen would you require to metabolize to produce energy as compared to people who do not use yoga? So your efficiency improves. So the amount of oxygen you utilize, that decreased. Then we worked on the efficacy of this course on type 2 diabetes mellitus and on cardiovascular risk factors. Next slide, please. This is the entire team of the IHC clinic. I am here right in the center. I used to sport a mustache those days. I am not a part of this team now since I've come here. Next slide, please. I would like to acknowledge the following. Some of these names you will read in the publications that we have. Next slide, please. I'd like to thank you for your forbearance. If you will click once again. Next. Thank you so much for your time and patience, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
So thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. Initially you highlighted that initially when in 2001 you started the PubMed search engine. Did we get back the number of publications which you published in PubMed? It was relatively less. And you are citing the reason was because compared to the aerobic exercise which was moved, it was within lakhs for organizations. Then you are also suggesting us to do research especially in the field of higher standardity. So what is the way by which we can publish? Because again we have to do the same words and same wording.
Actually, yoga was not accepted by the journal. Or they would say relaxation technique instead of meditation. Because the reviewers of the journals were not aware of yoga. They said, what is this yoga? We don't know, but if it is exercises, they are willing to accept. Slowly, yoga has become extremely popular all over the country and all over the world. So then it came back. Now, if you publish as yoga, people will accept. But you need to do just one thing. I am not sure if you have a course in research methodology for your students. I think that is something which should be done immediately, and we would be happy to help. There is only one way of doing a thing, and that is the correct way of doing it. The minute you take shortcuts, there are a lot of things that go wrong when it comes to science. This basically applies in routine life also. So if you do a scientific research protocol, what you need is, one is you need a good idea. And a good idea is an idea which is relevant to the locality here, something which is relevant to your part of the world, right? Now, when you talk of our complementary medicine, there are some wonderful, cures that we have, but we have not published them, so they are not accepted globally. So how do you publish them? You select a group of patients. Now you have to have a group of patients which is similar. So you stratify them. How? You have inclusion and exclusion criteria. Patients of a specific sex, specific age group, say 20 to 30, not some patient being 18, the other 45 because the profile of the disease is different. You can have both sexes. Their weight should be stratified. So try and keep them as close as possible in the inclusion and exclusion criteria. Once you've got a group of subjects, then you choose the parameters. Which is the parameter which has improved as a result of your intervention? Now, if I'm doing yoga and I'm looking for diabetes treatment, so I take, say, 100 patients, or I calculate the N number. There is a way of calculating the number of people, sample size. Sample size is based on the literature or on standard error that you can calculate on your own. So once you have a representative sample which is significant, otherwise if you do a study on 2 people, it will never be accepted. Because 2 people, it could have happened by chance. So when you get the p-value, it tells you what is the possibility of X affecting Y without chance. So if you have a closed group, a good stratified group, and you identify a parameter. Now for diabetes, blood sugar is the easiest parameter. Along with that, the lipid profile, because diabetes is predominantly a lipid disorder, contrary to people's belief that it is carbohydrate. So when these 2 parameters you study before and after your intervention, it implies that your intervention had some effect. Because what we did not do was stop the medication. That medication patient was taking for years. So in addition to that medication, the yoga reduced their blood sugar. So that means it had effect despite the medication. So if you plan a study, it can either be a case control study or a cohort study, a descriptive or analytical study. So you need a little study of your methodology. Choose a good research design, identify a null hypothesis, your parameters, and then make sure you do the intervention over a period of time, and then you do a pre and post assessment of those parameters, which may be either physical parameters or blood parameters or whatever, including weight, etc. Weight is a parameter. Now, when you talk of parameters, you should be measuring these parameters with valid methods. So you can't have different weighing scales in different places for different people. It has to be one specific weighing scale. All the patients should have used that one specific weighing scale because there may be a little difference. So follow a valid methodology, assess your parameters, and then do a good analysis. Statistical analysis is the key. And nowadays it becomes very easy because there is software available. So things have become a lot easier. And now if you don't do this and you treat 1,000 patients, then basically you are being unethical. Any doctor who is treating multitude of patients and getting good results, and if he is not publishing those results to tell the world that this is beneficial for the patient, he is holding back that benefit. So my opinion is it is unethical not to publish. And slowly, if you've done a good project, if you apply to CCRYN or to the other Ministry of Ayush, you will also get funding for your projects. So please apply for funding. A simple, good research design is doable. Please read some of these papers. You will realize how simple it is to do this. You have to make sure of a few things to make sure things are in line. For example, our asanas were done specifically at a specific time during the day for all the students, all the participants. Because diurnal variation may occur. If I take your blood sample in the morning 9 a.m. or at 9 p.m., there will be difference in your baselines. Because we know hormonal changes are diurnal, they change during the day. If I'm giving instructions, your activity or intervention, that intervention should be at the same time during the day. I shouldn't be doing it at 9 a.m. for somebody fasting and 2 p.m. for somebody post-lunch, because that is also going to make. So try and make the situation as similar as possible for all. Then it will be very difficult for a reviewer to say that your study is not scientific. So if your methodology is scientific, even if it's a simple study design, 30, 40 people, it will be published. Now we have a huge number of publications. And now on the basis of this publication, we can categorically say with evidence that yoga benefits health. So if you stand upside down and do some fantastic asanas, people say, yes, circus hai. I mean, I've heard those terms. But if you can publish and say, yes, this has an effect, people are doing it. It's unfortunate now that the number of people who are doing yoga abroad, I'm talking about numbers, we are a crore plus population. And people with 1/10 of our population, the absolute numbers are more, not percentage. In India, very few people do yoga. So my advice is practice what you preach. And yoga is free of cost. If you can see if you have a yoga school, you might pay very little or even it's available all over. It does not require any fancy equipment. You can do it in your own homes. And maybe that's why people are not doing it. Unless you buy an expensive sporting equipment and you have invested, you feel it's not worth it. So I want to actually come and stimulate you positively and negatively. I want you to look into yourself. You are a system of complementary medicine and you are not doing adequate research, whereas I have done. So please, with that competition, start doing something. I would be happy to help with research methodology and with designing your studies. Thank you all, and thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would like to request Director Madam to come over the dais for distributing the certificates to our delegates. I request Professor Dr. Nalin Mehta sir to receive the certificate from Madam. Now I request Swami Hita Kamanandaji to receive the certificate from Madam. I request Dr. Lily Papia Madam to receive the certificate. Thank you, ma'am. Now, our one program was left out. Now, the director from Morarji Desai National Institute of Yoga, Dr. Bashabiraddi sir will deliver his lecture.
Namaste, madam. Namaste.
Now, I would like to welcome co-organizer Dr. Ishwar V. Basabaratti sir, Director, Morarji Desai, National Institute of Yoga, for deliver his inaugural speech.
Can I speak? Sound आ रहा है आपका? Can I speak? Can I speak? मैं बात करूं? Hello,
Sir, you are not audible to us, sir.
I am not audible.
No, sir.
So I can hear you, but it is from your side. Hello, can I speak? My system is correct. Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay, thank you. Can I speak or shall I wait?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. My pranams to you all, respected Director Madam, faculty of the esteemed institution, student friends and yoga enthusiasts, and Ayush practitioners, my pranams to you all. At the outset, I take this opportunity to congratulate the organizers, the esteemed institution of the Ministry of Ayush to take the initiative to organize a yoga event as part of 100 days, 100 cities and 100 organizations. Today is the 78th day and we are organizing all these events in a very iconic places as per the directions of the Honorable Prime Minister. This time we are celebrating 75th Independence Day of our great country. So Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. So every individual, every organization, every ministry, every state, we are organizing many programs. And this time the International Day of Yoga, which is 78 days from today. So we are giving a momentum, build up programs throughout the country and abroad to make aware of the health benefits of yoga, how we can integrate yoga in our healthcare delivery system, and how we can practice yoga and keep ourselves fit and live a healthy and peaceful life. So therefore, this time we are going to celebrate it in a big manner, targeting 25 crore across the globe will join hands in celebrating IDFI, one of the biggest public health government. On this occasion, so I once again congratulate the Director Madam and all the faculty and students for making it happen in a very short notice. And I thought today morning we are doing yoga, there was a rain, but still you continue. And like this, there are many hurdles for any good activities, but yoga teaches us to overcome all this. I will say only one thing, how yoga can be benefited. Whenever we practice 30 to 45 minutes of yoga, which is common protocol, which is being followed by more than 25 crore people across the globe. So this common yoga call, once we practice, what happens? So this will help us to reduce the stress of working stress and detoxify the toxins in the body, accumulated in the body, detoxify. We strengthen the muscles, especially the healthy spinal cord and brain activities. So all these things help eat well, sleep well, work well, talk well. All these wellness parameters take care of 21 to 28 days of regular practice of yoga. Therefore, the common yoga protocol, what we have practiced today morning, has an impact, positive impact on the lipid profile and on diabetes, hypertension, all these non-communicable disorders can be managed with complementary with medication wherever it is possible. It may be homeopathy or it may be Ayurveda, any type of medication along with yoga, and it has given a wonderful results, which has been shown by the many research. So, being a national institute and both homeopathy and Ayurveda, so we have already integrated yoga, but now it is high time to take it forward. And this journey today we have started, and it should continue till 20th of June, where we can organize in many thousands people will practice yoga in a very iconic place in Arunachal Pradesh, where the National Institute of Homeopathy and Ayurveda and Northeast Institute is taking a lead role. With these things, I once again thank you and very much, and also congratulations to you. I'm sorry I was in a meeting with our Honorable Minister. I couldn't join it exactly at the 11 o'clock, the inaugural session. I do hope that the deliberations here are very useful and they will continue to promote yoga as an integrative medicine. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Bijay Kumar, sir, Principal Incharge, College of Ayurveda, for vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Respected Swamiji, Secretary Ramkrishna Mission, Director Madam, Dr. Papia, Principal Sir, Homeopathy College, faculties, and my dear students. आप सभी का हार्दिक अभिनंदन एवं साधुवाद. With the blessing of Lord Dhanvantri and Maharshi Patanjali, we reach the closing stage of the today function. On the behalf of NEIAH, I, Dr. Bijay Kumar, Associate Professor, Department of Swasthya and Yoga, would like to take this opportunity to purpose the vote of thanks to those who have directly or indirectly contributed to this seminar on the occasion of 8th International Day of Yoga. अब बात योग की है और मैं स्वस्वित योग से संबंधित हूँ, तो मन तो नहीं मानेगा, कुछ तो बोलना ही पड़ेगा, दो ही लाइन से ही. जैसा कि योग मीन्स टू यूनाइट, टू कंबाइन, जुड़ना मिलना, सभी जानते हैं. जैसे हम लोग मिल रहे हैं, जुड़े हुए हैं. और अगर हम डिफिनीशन की बात करें तो महर्षि पतंजलि ने तो योगा चित्त निरोध की बात की, लेकिन जो मुझे अच्छा लगता पर्सनली, एक भगवत गीता में श्लोक आया है, योगा कर्मसु कौशलम, स्किल परफॉर्मेंस. आप जब भी किसी कार्य को करें, हम जब भी एक बुक को ही सिंपली अगर पढ़ रहे हैं, तो हम इस तरह से उससे जुड़ जाएं कि हमें अपने आसपास का आभास ना हो, तो निश्चित रूप से हम योग कर रहे हैं, हम योगी हैं. क्योंकि योग के जो 8 अंग हैं, यम, नियम, आसन, प्राणायाम, धारणा, ध्यान, समाधि, आज हम योग को मानते हैं तो सिर्फ आसन प्राणायाम को समझते हैं, जबकि उससे पहले जो यम नियम है, यम मीन्स एथिकल्स रूल्स, सत्य, अहिंसा, आस्ते, ब्रह्मचर्य, अपरिग्रह. और नियम की बात करें तो कह सकते हैं कि प्रिंसिपल्स फॉर वेलनेस, सोच, संतोष, स्वाध्याय, तप, ईश्वर, प्राणायाम, उसकी तो हम बात ही नहीं करते हैं. सीधे थर्ड आसन तो तीसरे पोजीशन पर है, प्राणायाम 4th पे है. तो आज हमें यम नियम पर भी विचार करना आवश्यक हो जाता है. क्योंकि जैसे हम बात करते हैं अगर अहिंसा की, तो महात्मा गांधी ने अहिंसा को फॉलो किया तो राष्ट्रपिता हो गए. सत्य की बात करें तो सत्य में महर्षि पतंजलि ने कहा है कि सत्य प्रतिष्ठायाम क्रिया फरासरत्वम. अगर हम सत्य पे कमांड कर लेते हैं तो जो कुछ कहेंगे वही हो जाएगा. खैर, इसको ज़्यादा विस्तार करते हुए मैं इतना कहना चाहूँगा कि हमें जो कुछ करें, स्किल परफॉर्मेंस, हम कुछ भी कार्य करें, घर हो, बाहर हो, ऑफिस हो, उसको हम 100% देने की कोशिश करें तो निश्चित रूप से हम योगी कहलाएंगे. क्योंकि स्किल परफॉर्मेंस की बात हो रही है, और ये तब धारणा की बात हो जाएगी, ध्यान की बात हो जाएगी, क्योंकि हम आज योग के 8 अंगों में एक धारणा भी है, ध्यान भी है। इस तरह से हम धारणा और ध्यान लगा लें कि हमें और किस चीज़ का ऐसा हम उस स्थान पर पहुंच जाएं, तो योगी हैं। दूसरी बात और कहना चाहूँगा कि ये योग किसी देश, जाति, काल, वय से बाधित नहीं है। ये हर कोई हर समय पे, हाँ ये बात और है कि युक्ति की अपेक्षा करता है। तीसरी बात एक और कहना चाहूँगा, कुछ इसमें बेनिफिट्स की बात हो रही है, तो हठयोग प्रदीपिका में एक बड़ा सा अच्छा सा श्लोक आया है कि प्राणायाम आदि युक्तेन सर्वरोग क्षवो भवेत। अगर हम सम्यक प्रकार से युक्ति पूर्वक प्राणायाम के अभ्यास करते हैं तो सभी रोगों का क्षय करने में समर्थ होता है। फिर अगला श्लोक मिलता है आयुक्ता अभ्यासन, अगर असम्यक प्रकार से करते हैं तो सर्व रोग करो भवेत, बहुत सारी बीमारियां होने की संभावना रहती है। तो कोई भी, लास्टली मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा कि योग का मतलब सिर्फ आसन प्राणायाम से न समझें, उससे पहले यम नियम पे जरूर विचार करें। जब भी आसन प्राणायाम की प्रैक्टिस करें तो किसी योगाचार्य से या एक्सपर्ट से सलाह मशवरा जरूर करें। अब हम पॉइंट पे आते हैं, वोट ऑफ थैंक्स है ऑन द बिहाफ ऑफ नेहा, ठीक है। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आई वुड लाइक टू हार्टिएस्ट थैंक्स, सर जा चुके हैं, थैंक्स टू प्रोफेसर नालिन मेहता sir, Director NEIAH Shillong, for his words and encouragement of spending time from his busy schedule, लग रहा है, to grace the occasion. Thank you, sir. Moving forward, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Swami Hitmanand Sarji, Secretary, Ramakrishna Mission, Shillong. I would like to convey my warm gratitude to Dr. Ishwarvi Baswa Reddy, Director, EMD NEIAH New Delhi. And I would also like to express my heartiest thanks to Dr. Lily Papia, physician, yoga and naturopathy, Civil Hospital, Shillong. Vote of thanks is incomplete without the mentioning the name of Morarji Desai Institute of Yoga. I express my sincere thanks for the support and opportunity. Dr. Morarji Desai Institute of Yoga. I am also thankful to Director Madam for her support and guidance for organizing this event. Thank you, ma'am. I owe a special gratitude to faculty members, official staff, hospital staff, and all staff of the NEIAH, their support. I will also like to express my thanks to all my dear students for their active participation and coordination in various activities. At last, once again, my sincere thanks to one and all. Thank you so much. Khublai Shibun.
Thank you, sir. Our today's program is about to reach its end. Therefore, I request you all to stand up for national anthem. जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तब जय गाथा जनगण मंगल नायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हिंद. Now I request everyone to be seated here for light refreshment. Thank you.